You've seen it a million times, right? London's iconic Tower Bridge. But behind that famous silhouette is this incredible story of impossible engineering, a real battle between human ambition and the power of a river. So today, let's pull back the curtain and find out how this Victorian giant was actually built.
I mean, this was the central, almost impossible question facing the engineers back in the 1880s. You have to picture it. The River Thames wasn't just some quiet stream. It was the bustling, tidal artery of London, absolutely choked with ships and traffic that you just couldn't stop. So how on earth did they pull it off?
Well, the answer really comes down to sheer Victorian grit. This was not a quick job. It was this massive undertaking that took 8 full years. 8 years! A true test of endurance from the very first shovel in the riverbed to the very last stone being set in place.
And all of that endurance was powered by people. Just try to imagine the scene. Every single day, for those 8 years, an army of 432 workers showed up. Their combined effort was the human engine driving this whole massive project forward.
And the scale of the materials, it's just as mind-boggling. To create the bridge's immense skeleton, the real core of its strength, the engineers needed over 11,000 tons of steel. That's a staggering amount of metal to shape and put together.
But beyond all that steel and stone, this is really a human story. We have to take a look at this army of builders, the actual people who poured their skill and their sweat into raising this thing right out of the river. There's a phrase from back then that just says it all. The work was described as the relentless labor. And that perfectly captures the intensity of the job. This wasn't just construction. It was a daily battle against the river, against gravity, and against the clock.
So who were all these people? Well, you can think of it like this pyramid of skill. Right at the top, you had the visionaries, the engineer Sir John Wolfe-Barry, and the architect Horace Jones. Then, their plans were brought to life by 5 major contracting companies, who managed that daily crew of 432 workers. All told, over 2,000 different people had a hand in building this thing.
Now, of all the jobs on that site, one was, without a doubt, the most terrifying. You had skilled divers wearing these early diving suits with heavy brass helmets who had to go down into the cold, murky Thames to dig the foundations by hand. Can you imagine? It was claustrophobic, incredibly dangerous work, but it was absolutely essential.
And that brings us right to the first huge engineering challenge they faced, building a stable base. See, before they could go up, they had to go down. They had to tame that powerful river from the bottom up.
Let's talk about the piers, because they are the real unsung heroes of Tower Bridge. These aren't just supports, they're gigantic anchors built on those foundations the divers dug out. And they had one critical job, to hold the entire weight of the bridge and make sure it didn't wobble an inch in those powerful river currents.
So the process they came up with was just brilliant. First, that dangerous underwater digging to get deep into the solid riverbed. Then, they built the massive piers right on top of that base. And the result? Something that seemed impossible. A completely immovable foundation, literally rooted to the bottom of the Thames, ready to hold thousands and thousands of tons.
Okay, so once those foundations were solid, the bridge finally started to go up. And as it did, it revealed this fascinating secret, a kind of dual identity. With Tower Bridge, what you see isn't exactly what you get. See, this is the bridge's true self, a colossal skeleton of steel. Teams of riveters worked non-stop, heating up over 13 million rivets until they were glowing red hot, then hammering them into place to bind that 11,000-ton framework together. It must have been an incredible dance of fire and steel.
And this is where we get to the bridge's big secret. On the inside, you have that raw, powerful steel skeleton, the hidden framework that provides all the strength. But then, it's wrapped in this beautiful stone exterior, that's Cornish granite and Portland stone, which does 2 things. It protects the vital steel underneath, and, as the Victorians put it, it gives the bridge a more pleasing appearance.
But here's the thing. Tower Bridge wasn't just meant to sit there and look pretty. The final, absolute genius phase of its construction was to make this giant move. It had to open up for the tall ships that still sailed up and down the river.
And this, right here, was the grand finale of all the engineering challenges. They had to design and build these cutting-edge hydraulic engines powered by steam. And these engines had to lift the enormous arms of the bridge, they're called bascules, in just about a minute. And remember this part,
They did all of this incredibly precise, heavy installation work while ships were still sailing right underneath them. The river never closed.
So after all those years of relentless work, these incredible breakthroughs, and just amazing teamwork, it was finally done. A brand new landmark for London and a lasting legacy of a really ambitious era had been forged in steel and stone.
You know, looking at it on a timeline like this really puts the whole 8-year saga into perspective. It kicks off in 1886, goes through this grueling period of nonstop construction against all odds, and then, in 1894, this defining London landmark is born. It was a marathon, for sure, not a sprint.
So what's the takeaway here? Tower Bridge is so much more than just a bridge. It's really a monument to ambition, a testament to what is possible with teamwork, ingenuity, and just sheer willpower. And it makes you wonder, what are we building today that will symbolize our own era's ambition 100 years from now?